Chapter 27. How powerful was Xianhou? No one could say for sure. Some said she was in the top 5, some said she was weaker than the Evil King and the Dragon King, some said she was second only to Su King, and some said she was the most powerful in the world, and she was so mysterious that she had already touched the edge of the Great Tao. Of course, all of these were just speculations. But it was undeniable that the mysterious queen had indeed reached an unimaginable level. She had killed 3 master-level warriors from 100 miles away, broken through the earth vein with one palm attack, caused a volcano to erupt, changed the environment, and moved her own mountain to a place tens of thousands of miles away. Even a nameless brat like Yi Chen had heard about all of these things. Looking at the portrait carefully, Yi Chen found that he could not see Xuanhou's face clearly, as if the painter could not describe Xuanhou's face, and could only blur it to create a hazy beauty. After a long time, Yi Chen withdrew his gaze, and a question arose in his mind. Who are the people who live here? How could there be a portrait of Xianhou? It should be noted that Xianhou had ruled the world for more than 10 years, and only a few people were qualified to see her. Judging from the ink, this portrait was not more than 10 years old. Also, where was the owner of the stone room? He hung this well-preserved portrait on the wall, which obviously showed that he valued it a lot, and should have brought it with him when he went on a long trip. What is this? Yi Chen fixed his eyes on the center of the stone room, where there was a scorch mark. If he looked carefully, he could see an inconspicuous ring in the pale white ashes. Picking it up, Yi Chen wiped it with his sleeve. On the back of the green ring, 2 ancient characters were engraved, mid-rank. Yi Chen was shocked at first, and then he was overjoyed. This inconspicuous ring was a storage ring, and it was a priceless mid-rank storage ring. If a low-rank storage ring was enough to bankrupt a normal mid-rank family, then a mid-rank storage ring would be enough to make a big family like the Yi family bleed. Probably only the big martial institutions would have 1 or 2 of them, and they would only be owned by the leaders. Normal people would not even dare to dream about it. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen operated his internal qi, and slowly poured it into the storage ring. Buzz! The storage ring shook slightly, and a trace of faintly discernible vibration spread out, which was captured by Yi Chen's soul power. In the next moment, Yi Chen saw the space inside the storage ring. It was a standard cube with a length, width, and height of 20 feet. Its entire body shone with a misty light and was slightly transparent, as if it had been cut out from the void. It was even larger than the living room of an ordinary family. There were 2 secret manuals, a sheathed long saber, and a pile of jagged jade stones the size of an egg, glowing with a faint white light. Could it be that this is a spirit stone? Focusing his attention on the jade, Yi Chen's originally calm emotions began to fluctuate again. With a thought, Yi Chen took out a piece of jade, closed his eyes, and sent his inner qi into it. Boom! As if the floodgates had been opened, the majestic yuan qi within the spirit stone ferociously gushed out and rushed into Yi Chen's meridians with unstoppable force. Not good, warriors below the condensing reality realm are not qualified to train with spirit stones. Yi Chen's face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He hurriedly operated his pure yuan art, and forcibly cut off the connection with the spirit stone. Who? Taking a few deep breaths, Yi Chen still had some lingering fear. He did not expect that he would be so happy that he would forget about the taboo of being a warrior, and almost lose all his meridians. Fortunately, the pure yuan art's inner qi was extremely pure, and it had been trained to the highest level of the 6 meridians, so he could barely cut off the connection. Otherwise, if it were someone else, even if their meridians were not damaged, they would still pass out due to the yuan qi. Although the meridians in his arms were still aching, Yi Chen still laughed out loud. Spirit stones were the same as storage rings, they were both essential for a high-level warrior. The latter was used to store objects, while the former was used to provide yuan qi for training, which could only be produced by natural veins. According to the quality and amount of spirit stones, they could be divided into low rank, mid rank, top rank, and extreme rank. For ordinary people, it would take more than 5 years to train from Mortal Realm Stage 1 to Mortal Realm Stage 10, more than 10 years to train from early condensing reality realm to late condensing reality realm, and at least 20 to 30 years to train from early clasping yuan realm to late clasping yuan realm. For most people, 40 to 50 years was way too long, terrifyingly long. But with spirit stones, it would be different. Apart from the mortal realm, the warriors would need to train by themselves. Once they reached the condensing reality realm, they would be able to absorb the yuan qi from the spirit stones. According to some people's calculations, the quality of the yuan qi in the spirit stones was equivalent to 5 times the quality of the yuan qi in the world. In other words, excluding the problem of breaking through to the next level, it would be 4 times faster than normal training speed. In other words, only with the spirit stones could a genius be seen. After all, geniuses had extremely high comprehensive abilities, and could break through to the next level at an unbelievable speed, which would maximize the value of the spirit stones. But for those who were not talented, even with the help of the spirit stones, when it came time to break through to the next level, they would still have to focus on the spirit stones. Otherwise, they might be stuck at the same level for the rest of their lives. Yichen estimated that there were at least 10,000 spirit stones in the storage ring, and each spirit stone was worth more than 1,000 silvers. In total, there were 10 million silvers in the storage ring. What did 10 million silvers mean? It was enough to support a medium-sized family for 1 or 2 years. It was definitely a huge amount of money. Don't show your wealth, I have to keep this secret. Before I become powerful enough, I can't keep it to myself. Yichen warned himself. Moving his eyes away from the spirit stones with difficulty, Yichen took out the 2 manuals. The first one was a fist art manual. The Tyrant Fist was a low-rank Earth Realm martial skill. The practitioner must have absolute confidence, never give up, or else it would be hard to bring out the essence of the Tyrant Fist. The Tyrant Fist had 4 movements. The first movement, Tyrannical Rampage. The second movement, Dominating the World. The third movement, Dominating the World. The fourth movement, Tyrannical Millennium. Remember, the Tyrant Fist was extremely powerful. Before the practitioner had mastered Jin Qi, his body must be extremely powerful. Otherwise, he would injure himself, which was not worth it. The fourth movement, Tyrannical Millennium, was extremely mysterious. Only the body and Jin Qi could be used to its limit. It was a low-rank Earth Realm fist art. It would be a lie if Yichen said he was not excited. Normally, only the core disciples were qualified to learn low-rank Earth Realm martial skills. Only a few of the inner disciples could learn low-rank Earth Realm martial skills, not to mention the outer disciples. Yichen then looked at the second one. The second one was a body-strengthening manual. Pure Jade Body Boosting Spell, low-rank Earth Realm, passed down from hundreds of years ago. It can increase the capacity of Yuan Qi that a mortal realm warrior can store. If a mortal realm warrior trained it, he or she could directly absorb the Yuan Qi from the soul stones with his or her strong body, without worrying about safety. The Pure Jade Body Boosting Spell had 5 movements. The first movement, Body Training. The second movement, Hard and Soft Force. The third movement, Pure Jade Body Boosting Spell. The fourth movement, Broken Jade Rebirth. The fifth movement, King Kong Jade Body. Chapter 28. After being shocked by the storage ring and the soul stones, Yichen was not that excited after seeing the low-rank Earth Realm manual. But of course, he was happy. Putting away the manual, Yichen took out the last item. It was a long saber with a scabbard. The scabbard was clear in color, carved with mountains, rivers, birds, and fishes. The handle was long, and the handguard was a tiger's head, which swallowed the saber. Qin. Xiao Qin drew his saber, and a bright saber qi shot out. It left a 1-meter-long mark on the walls of the stone room, looking exceptionally sharp. What a great saber, it can even produce saber qi. Yi Chen's eyes brightened. A weapon that could produce saber qi had already surpassed the category of ordinary weapons, and had risen to the level of a godly weapon. In his memory, the Yi family also had a great sword, called Vanishing Shadow. With one thrust, it could break through the air and kill without leaving a trace. If he was not mistaken, this great saber was worth more than 1,000,000 silvers. The only unfortunate thing was that Yi Chen did not use a blade, but a sword instead. In his opinion, the sword was the king of all weapons, and the overall evaluation was the highest. Plus, the number of people who trained in the sword would usually take up half of the total population, but the ones who could actually train it well were very, very few, even less than the other weapons. The cold saber was covered by the scabbard. Yi Chen looked back at the burnt ground. If he guessed it right, the owner of the stone room was already dead. He had lost his mind while training, and was burned into ashes by the Jinqi fire. Naturally, the storage ring had fallen into the ashes. Bowing 3 times to the ashes, Yi Chen murmured, "Elder, although you did not leave many things, but they are very useful to me. I, the outer disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School, bow to you. I hope you will not blame me for taking your things." After bowing 3 times, Yi Chen felt a bit emotional. Judging from the belongings, this deceased elder had quite a high cultivation, at least above the clasping Yuan realm, or even reached the astral reaching realm. Unfortunately, he still could not escape the fate of losing his mind. From this, one could imagine the cruelty of training. Even if one had to deal with external disasters, one had to overcome one's own body. Yi Chen, who could not find a way out, decided to train the pure jade body boosting spell. He had already mastered the first spell of the pure jade body boosting spell a long time ago, and the second spell had already reached the level of toughness and softness. The only thing he needed now was to be like his senior sister Su Jing, to have a godly power inside his body. What was divine power? The most common horse on this true spirit continent was called the dark brown horse. It could run as fast as flying, and it had a strong body. Without increasing its speed, it could have a force of 2,000 pounds with a light bump. Right now, Yi Chen's strength was around 1,500 jin. He was not far from 2,000 jin. However, he knew that the further he went, the slower his strength would grow. The time needed to reach 500 jin would definitely be longer than before. Yi Chen took out a few bottles of physique tempering paste from his pocket and took off his clothes, rubbing them on his body meticulously. Only when his skin shone with a glossy sheen, accentuating his muscles, did Yi Chen get into a stance and start practicing his punches in detail. The punches were still the King Kong fist. The more aggressive the punches were, the more thorough the training of the body would be. Of course, the King Kong fist was different from before. Instead, it was combined with the second spell of the pure jade body boosting spell. The effect was even more obvious. King Kong crossing the river. King Kong smash. King Kong dive. King Kong unlimited. Practicing the movements of the King Kong fist, Yi Chen gradually got into the zone. He forgot about everything around him. Vaguely, there came the sound of blood flowing inside Yi Chen's body. It sounded like a huge river. On the contrary, his heartbeat was getting slower and slower, but it was still very powerful. The thumping sound was like a huge drum, vibrating his bones. Not knowing how long had passed, Yi Chen suddenly opened his eyes. He jumped up and threw a punch at the huge gray tree trunk. Boom! The tree trunk was extremely hard. There were only a few cracks on it. What a hard tree! But my strength has increased a lot. It should be 1,500 pounds now. I didn't expect the pure jade body boosting spell to be so useful. Within 2 to 4 hours, his strength had increased by almost 100 pounds. It was something that the King Kong fist could not achieve. After resting for a while, Yi Chen felt a bit hungry. What he had just done had used up all the extra energy in his body. He needed to replenish it. Walking to the river, Yi Chen thought to himself, the fish in here should be edible. The river was deep and clear. Through the water, he could see the shadows. The smaller ones were about 1 foot long, and the bigger ones were more than 5 feet long. They were swimming very fast. With just a swing of their tails, they could swim 7 to 8 meters away, out of people's sight. Picking up a stone from the ground, Yi Chen yelled in a low voice, "Hit it!" With the force of more than 1,000 pounds, the stone was even sharper than a hidden weapon. It drew a straight line in the air, and instantly sank into the water. Originally, Yi Chen was just testing the distance of the fish and the refraction of the water. He did not expect that he would hit a 5-feet-long black shadow. Whoosh! All of a sudden, the black shadow flipped over and broke out of the water. As the water splashed, a dark brown weird fish appeared in front of Yi Chen's eyes. There were thorns on the side of its gills, its body was thick and powerful, and its surface was uneven. Opening its mouth full of sharp teeth, the weird fish bit towards Yi Chen's head. Yi Chen smiled lightly. He bent down and punched the weird fish's abdomen. Chin! The weird fish's skin was as hard as steel, which surprised Yi Chen a lot. With his current punch, he could shatter a huge rock into pieces, but he could not break through its defense. Paw! The weird fish backed off half a meter under the impact of the punch. It swung its tail, which was as thin as a cow's tail. Even Yi Chen did not want to be hit by it. At this critical moment, Yi Chen did not choose to back off. He took out the great blade from his storage ring and waved it. Puff! The weird fish's tail was chopped off. The weird fish fell into the river, trying its best to swim deeper, not daring to attack Yi Chen again. Forcing a smile, Yi Chen knew that without the great blade, it would not be easy to deal with this weird fish. Whether or not he could break through its defense was still a problem. But judging from the fish's body, it did not seem to be releasing any beast chi, so it could not be a beast. It should be an ancient species with special talents. The fish's tail was 3 feet long, and was as thick as a bowl, enough for Yi Chen to eat. He always carried a fire starter with him, so Yi Chen started a fire quickly and put the fish tail on the grill. After 15 minutes, a smell that he had never smelled before spread out, which made Yi Chen's mouth twitch. Grabbing the fish tail, Yi Chen bit down. The meat was so tender that he almost bit his tongue. This is amazing. This fish is like beef, but also like chicken. It has an indescribable rich aroma, and it is very chewy. Wait, why is my body heating up? As he swallowed the fish, Yi Chen's body suddenly felt hot. A wave of heat spread out from his stomach to the rest of his body, seeping into his muscles, blood, and even his bones. Wave after wave, it felt very warm. Chapter 29. After about 15 minutes, the heat flow finally dissipated. Yi Chen felt that his body was filled with strength from the inside out. He was brimming with energy, as if he could kill a ferocious tiger with a single punch. Could it be that the flesh of this strange fish has the effect of strengthening one's body? Yi Chen revealed a joyful expression as he devoured the fish tail in big mouthfuls. He only chewed 3 times before swallowing the fish tail. Chi. His body rapidly heated up, and sticky black impurities seeped out from his pores. A foul stench filled the air, and Yi Chen almost fainted from the suffocating smell. I can't take it anymore, I have to go take a bath. Yi Chen couldn't care less about the strange fish in the river. He stood up and leaped lightly into the river. Whoosh! The cool river water touched his skin, and it felt extremely comfortable. All 48,000 pores on his body seemed to have opened up, greedily breathing in. However, the owner of the river water wasn't willing. The strange fish in the vicinity heard the noise and attacked in a frenzy. Yi Chen laughed coldly. He took out his treasured saber and swept it horizontally, slashing out a circular arc of saber energy in the water. 1, 2, 3, a total of 9 strange fish were slashed into 2, unable to retaliate at all. Yi Chen threw their corpses onto the shore, 1 in each hand, preparing to use them as food in the future. When the other strange fish saw how fierce Yi Chen was, they all fled like birds. It seemed that they weren't as courageous as they appeared to be. After taking a refreshing bath, Yi Chen jumped out of the river. He subconsciously lifted his feet, and his entire body felt light and healthy. Other than that, the fish meat in his stomach had been completely digested, and he had to replenish it. The largest of the 9 strange fish was no longer than 3 feet. Yi Chen picked up 3 of them, cut their stomachs, and poured out their intestines. After washing them, he skewered them with a thin branch and roasted them over the bonfire. The aroma filled the air. After a while, the fish meat was cooked again. My strength has increased a lot now. I wonder if I can reach the divine power stage by eating fish. Strength above 2,000 pounds was considered to be super strength. Some people were born with super strength when they were 8 or 9 years old, but some people couldn't even when they were in their 20s or 30s. This was the difference in talent. Originally, it would take Yi Chen at least a week to reach this level, and that was with the help of the pure jade body boosting spell. But now, he could reach his goal by eating the fish, which would save him a lot of time, so why not? After eating the 3 fish, black impurities oozed out of Yi Chen's body again, but they were much less than the first time and were slightly transparent. At the same time, Yi Chen's stomach churned with extreme pain. He hurriedly rushed to the toilet in the underground world and squatted down impatiently. There was a continuous puffing sound, and the surroundings were filled with a foul stench. After he had completely excreted, Yi Chen did not feel too exhausted. Those were just impurities that could not be excreted from his pores. He did not want to take a second look at them. Naked, Yi Chen poured some vanilla powder around him to cover the stench in the air, and then walked into the river. As the black impurities were washed away, Yi Chen's skin became smooth like silk. It was tough and dense, and even swords would not be able to cut it. His tender body seemed to have been trained countless times. His muscles were well defined, and his broad shoulders were strong. Yi Chen calmly felt that his body was continuously absorbing yuan qi. Even the river could not stop it. Furthermore, the yuan qi was changing slightly, and its capacity had increased by more than 30%. It was almost automatically pouring into his body, and quickly merging with his qi. The qi whirlpool in his dantian gradually tightened, and the pressure in the center increased, as if it was turning his qi into Jin qi in advance to strengthen his body. It seems like not only my body's quality has increased, but the speed of absorbing yuan qi has also increased. This is not as simple as the super strength. That's right, Yi Chen's strength had already surpassed 2,000 pounds, and was approaching 3,000 pounds. In terms of pure strength, the core disciple Su Jing was not that much stronger than Yi Chen, at most 3,000 to 4,000 pounds. Eating fish, practicing boxing, and training his qi, time passed by slowly. On this day, Yi Chen stood in front of a big gray tree. If I could break this tree with one punch, it would mean that my strength had reached 3,000 pounds. By then, it would be easier for me to train the 3rd level of the pure jade body boosting spell. Once I have mastered the 3rd level, I would be able to use the yuan qi from the spirit stones to replace the natural yuan qi. Yi Chen's mind was like a mirror. He had already planned out all the steps for the future. Ha! Letting out a breath, Yi Chen punched the big tree. Crack! The big tree broke instantly. The top half of the tree fell down and landed on the ground. Done! Yi Chen took a deep breath. It is even stronger than I thought. It should be 3,500 pounds. Although he did not know how much time had passed outside, Yi Chen's intuition told him that it had not been more than 3 days, maybe even less. In just 2 to 3 days, he had mastered the 2nd level of the pure jade body boosting spell. This horrifying speed even surprised Yi Chen himself. He was wondering how strong he could become by eating fish. Would it be more than 5,000 pounds, or even 10,000 pounds? Shaking his head, Yi Chen could not imagine it anymore. As time went on, Yi Chen started to feel annoyed. This place was too depressing, isolated from the rest of the world. It would be fine if it was just 1 or 2 days, but to live here every day, Yi Chen suspected that he would go crazy. Making up his mind, Yi Chen was ready to leave this place. Looking at the river, Yi Chen planned to catch some weird fishes and put them in his storage ring before he found a way out. These fishes could easily be worth more than 10,000 silvers, especially that huge fish that was 5 feet long. Just its tail alone was more effective than the other small fishes. It was obvious how effective it was. Making up his mind, Yi Chen took out his great blade and dove into the river. The river was very deep, and it was pitch black. Yi Chen had already expected this situation, so he took out a few luminous stones and threw them into the river. The valuable luminous stones slowly sank into the river, emitting a soft glow that illuminated the environment within a radius of 10 meters. Whoosh! The river rippled, and the huge shadow quickly swam away. Where do you think you are going? Yichen gathered his chi and threw out a blade attack. The bright blade chi could not even stop the river water. It was cut open and chased after the shadow like lightning. With a puff sound, the shadow froze in place. Yichen was afraid that it might be a trap, so he threw out another blade chi attack. As expected, the huge shadow struggled for a while, and the river water became murky, making it hard for the naked eye to see clearly. Of course, this was not a problem for Yichen. With his powerful soul power, Yichen easily caught the shadow, and with a push of his feet, he jumped up. Breaking out of the water, Yichen threw the dead fish on the shore and continued to dive. 1, 2, 5. Only when there were no more strange fishes in the river did Yichen stop. It's time to go back. That red blood demon beast must have gone somewhere else to hunt. Yichen was still a bit worried. A rank 4 beast was unimaginably powerful. Even if he had 10,000 pounds of strength, he would not dare to fight against it, unless he reached the condensing reality realm. Following the path he came from, Yichen carefully walked back. From afar, there was a light coming from the huge crack in the rock mountain. Yichen held his breath, tightly holding his blade as he walked quietly. Chapter 30. The entrance was a mess. Broken rocks were everywhere. Looking at the walls, there were claw marks that were a few feet deep, as if they were made of tofu. Yichen secretly felt lucky. He did not dare to stay any longer and flew back the way he came. Yichen had already remembered the lesson from last time. Therefore, in this dangerous area, Yichen did not rush on the ground. Instead, he jumped from one big tree to another. Along the way, he released his soul power to the limit. Once there was any movement, he would immediately hide his aura and hide. In the afternoon, Yichen finally arrived at the place where the big leather bag was placed. There's someone. Hiding behind the big tree, Yichen's eyes were sharp. Under the big tree, 3 teenagers were standing there. One of them had a big leather bag in his hand. It was very bulging. It was Yichen's harvest from a few days ago. Our luck is too good. Walking on the road, we can pick up demonic beast materials. There is even an inner pellet inside. We can sell it for at least 20 to 30,000 silvers. The slightly older teenager sneered, I wonder which idiot hid the demonic beast materials on the tree. He thought no one would find them. What a joke. Another one flattered, Zhang Kun, you are the best. You could tell with one glance that there was something on the tree. We did not know anything. Zhang Kun said proudly, that's why I said that following me is your good fortune. Wait until my cousin, Zhang Haoran, becomes an inner disciple. Then we can do whatever we want in the outer court. Of course, of course. The two nodded and complimented. Yichen could not stand it anymore. He walked out and said, put down the demonic beast materials. Zhang Kun looked back, it's you. That day in the Murin gang competition, Zhang Kun had Zhang Haoran's help, so he should have been able to get the 3rd place easily. But unfortunately, his plan could not keep up with the changes. Yichen suddenly appeared out of nowhere and took the 3rd place, which made Zhang Kun very annoyed. Zhang Kun, who is this little bastard? Do you want us to teach him a lesson? Make him kneel on the ground and kowtow to admit his mistake. The square-faced youth next to him observed the situation and understood that Yichen had offended Zhang Kun. That's right. I have the most experience in dealing with low-level outer sect disciples. I can make them cry for mercy. Hey, little bastard, crawl over here yourself. Thinking that he was at Mortal Realm Stage 9, the young man did not take Yichen seriously at all, his face full of disdain. Zhang Kun grinned and said, he offended my cousin, so he definitely won't have a good time. But now, we can humiliate him and let him know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is. Yichen said coldly, are you guys done yet? Put down the demonic beast materials and slap yourselves 10 times. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving. What? Hearing Yi Chen's words, Zhang Kun and the other two's expressions suddenly changed. It was not that they had never seen arrogant people before, but they had never seen anyone with a low cultivation base who could be arrogant. This Yi Chen was simply courting death. Anger gave birth to courage, and the three of them thought of killing him to silence him. I dare you to say that again. Zhang Kun did not hide the killing intent in his eyes and said coldly, if you kowtow and apologize now, you can still be saved. Why are you wasting your breath on him? Little bastard, prepare to die. The square-faced young man took a step forward and opened his right palm, aiming towards Yi Chen's face. If this palm hit him, even if Yi Chen did not die, his face would be disfigured. His attack was indeed vicious. Seeking death. Although the opponent's cultivation was 2 levels higher than his, Yi Chen did not care about it at all. With a casual step forward, his body suddenly appeared in front of the young man. He reached out his right hand and grabbed the young man's neck, slamming him down. Boom! A shallow pit appeared on the ground, and the square-faced young man's head sank half a foot into the pit. Bastard, if you dare to make a move, I will take your life. Zhang Kun and the other young man were shocked. They joined hands to attack Yi Chen, and each of them performed the martial skills that they had been practicing for a long time. Limitless Sans Ho. Collapsing Cloud Palm. Facing the two's fierce attacks, Yi Chen's feet shook, and the hard ground was immediately crushed. His whole body became extremely powerful, and without moving, he punched out with both of his fists. Bang! Bang! What's going on? He is only at Mortal Realm Stage 7. Zhang Kun and the other young man felt like they were struck by lightning. They spat out a mouthful of blood, and both of their feet left the ground. On the way, Zhang Kun's face flashed with a vicious expression. He waved his hand and shot out a black light. Go to hell. Don't forget that it was I, Zhang Kun, who killed you in hell. Shoo! The black light was a poisoned willow dart. It was extremely fast, and almost as soon as it was shot, it was already in front of Yi Chen. The head of the dart was shining with a purple light. Just as Zhang Kun was laughing coldly, his face suddenly froze. In his sight, Yi Chen had only pinched the willow dart with his index and middle fingers of his right hand. Impossible! Even a Mortal Realm Stage 10 warrior would not be able to handle my hidden weapons. Staggering on the ground, Zhang Kun's face was half angry and half frightened. Yi Chen did not bother to explain, he flicked his hand and threw the willow dart back. I hope you have the antidote with you. With a puff, the willow dart deeply stabbed into Zhang Kun's arm, and the poison instantly invaded his body. Bastard! I want your whole family dead, my cousin will not let you go. The poison on the willow dart was the 5-step snake poison. Mortal Realm warriors would definitely die from it, and even condensing reality realm warriors might not be able to handle it. Seeing that he had been poisoned, Zhang Kun's face turned pale. He was afraid that the poison would attack his heart before he could detoxify the poison. He quickly took out a bottle of antidote, opened the cork, and poured the whole bottle on his wound. Yi Chen hated it when people humiliated his whole family. He was so angry that he pushed his golden swallow art to its limit. He turned into a wisp of green smoke and flew out, trying to kill Zhang Kun. At that moment, a cold shout came out. Get back! A figure suddenly appeared in front of Zhang Kun, blocking his way. Yi Chen could not hold back his power, he threw out a punch. The fierce chi spread out in all directions, the grass and trees were all bent over. Yi Chen lightly flew back to where he was standing, and looked at the young man in front of Zhang Kun. The young man was about 18 years old, he had a gloomy face and a sarcastic smile on his face. Li Bu. Zhang Kun was surprised. Li Bu was one of the top outer disciples, he was at the same level as Zhang Haoran, peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10. However, because he had not been able to break through to become an inner disciple for a long time, he had been in closed-door training, hoping to break through before the end of the year. Plus, he did not participate in the Mu Ren gang competition, otherwise Wu Zongming would not have been able to get the second place. With him here, no matter how powerful Yi Chen was, he would still be killed. Li Bu, my cousin asked you to protect me. Kill him for me now. Zhang Kun was seriously injured, and as he spoke, there was a lot of blood coming out of his mouth. Li Bu said calmly, you can't even beat a Mortal Realm Stage 7 warrior, you are a disgrace to your cousin. As for him, don't worry, I will let him know what it feels like to kneel down. Zhang Haoran was known as a genius, so Li Bu could not ignore him. In the future, when he becomes an inner disciple, he would be able to take care of him. Turning around, Li Bu said, little brat, I will give you one chance. Kneel down and admit your mistake, and I will let you go. Otherwise, you will know what I, Li Bu, am capable of. Chapter 31. I will also give you a chance, leave now. Yi Chen had only used half of his power, he had not even used his real power yet. Li Bu laughed out loud as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. He did not even try to hide the murderous intent in his laughter. Obviously, Yi Chen had pissed him off. Looks like you won't give up until you die. Kneel down. His laughter was still echoing in the air. Li Bu had already charged towards Yi Chen. Along the way, his blade flashed, and the air was cut open. It carried a powerful aura, as if it wanted to see blood. Yi Chen stood where he was without moving, looking like he had been scared out of his wits by the sharp blade light. Seeing this, Li Bu grinned. He was thinking if he should cut off one of Yi Chen's arms first, or one of his ears, or both. Still want to fight back? Li Bu saw Yi Chen's right hand on the hilt of his sword, and his eyes looked empty. Chin. In the next second, a bright sword light appeared out of nowhere. It stabbed out at an incredible speed, and then went back into its scabbard. Li Bu stood there, dumbfounded. He looked down and saw that there was a hole in his left abdomen. The hole went through his back, and blood stained his shirt. No way. No way. I was already at the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10 a year ago. How could I be killed in 1 second? Li Bu's expression was ferocious, but it gave people a feeling of weakness. Yi Chen said lightly, I won't kill you today, but if you mess with me again, the consequences will not be so simple. Picking up his big leather bag, Yi Chen turned his back to them. Fresh Wind Town. The Elixir Pavilion. The shopkeeper was shocked as he looked at the beast materials on the counter. It was not that there was something wrong with the materials, but the person who was selling them was too amazing. If it was a Mortal Realm Stage 10 warrior who had gotten so many beast materials, he would not be so surprised. But the problem was that the person was only at the early Mortal Realm Stage 7. Red Armored Spider materials, 900 silvers, Earth-cracking centipede materials, 1,200 silvers, Red Smelting Bird materials, 1,300 silvers, Earth Viper materials, 800 silvers. Tiger Wolf materials, 1,100 silvers, a total of 28,800 silvers. Same old rules, change them all into gold notes. Also, give me a bottle of evil warding potion. The inner core of a monster beast was much more effective than spirit stones alone. Yi Chen would not waste it. You have a demonic beast core? The shopkeeper's eyes lit up. What's the problem? The shopkeeper said, can you sell this inner core to the Spirit Medicine Pavilion? Yi Chen shook his head. I don't lack money. What I lack is time. What if I use an essence chi pill to exchange with you? To tell you the truth, our Spirit Medicine Pavilion's pavilion master is currently experimenting with a new kind of medicinal pill, which requires a large amount of monster beast inner cores. An origin chi pill's effect is absolutely not inferior to an inner core that has matured for 3 months. It can also help you save the money needed to buy evil repelling potions. Yuan chi pellet? Yi Chen froze for a second. This kind of pellet could save a Mortal Realm warrior 3 months of hard work. Although the inner pellet of a demonic beast was great, it could only save 2 to 3 months of training after using the evil warding potion to get rid of its beast chi. Not to mention that it would save a bottle of evil warding potion that was worth over 10,000 silvers. Okay, I agree to the exchange. Yi Chen nodded. Walking out of the spirit medicine pavilion, Yi Chen walked towards the restaurant. Young master, please do me a favor. Give my poor daughter some food. I am willing to work like a horse in my next life. At the entrance of the restaurant, there was a middle-aged woman with a little girl. Both of their clothes were tattered and their faces were dirty. The little girl seemed to be extremely hungry. She sucked on her fingers with her mouth and looked hopefully at the customers coming and going. Unfortunately, no one paid any attention to them. They thought they were dirty, and didn't even want to look at them. Yi Chen felt sorry for them, so he took out a piece of silver from his money bag and threw it to them. For him, he was not short of money, only big money. Normally, a meal would cost at least 10 to 20 silvers. In terms of living, it could be said that he was quite rich. Thank you, thank you. The middle-aged woman was so excited that she was speechless. She had brought her poor daughter to the windy town for a few days, and the people who gave her money were mostly ordinary people, or some old beggars. Yi Chen waved his hand and walked into the restaurant. The little girl next to the middle-aged woman stared at Yi Chen's back in a daze. There were many things in her eyes that could not be erased. On the second floor, sitting by the window, Yi Chen was still thinking about what had just happened. Compared to the warriors and the rich, the lives of the ordinary people and the poor are way too hard. I can earn hundreds or thousands of silvers just by killing one beast, but they are still struggling to eat 3 meals a day. Who knows how many people have starved to death? Does fate really exist? Only now did Yi Chen feel that he had integrated into this world. He felt the joys and sorrows of this world, and the sufferings of all living beings. Before, he had always regarded himself as an outsider, a passerby. Forget it. There are millions of poor people on this true spirit continent. I can't help them all even if I wanted to. I can only promise to help every single one I see. After finishing his meal and leaving the restaurant, the mother and daughter were already gone. They probably went to some steamed bun shop to buy steamed buns. Yi Chen sighed and walked towards the tall windy mountain in the distance. When he returned to the independent courtyard, the sky was already dark, and a bright moon was slowly rising. Yi Chen first took a shower to get rid of the dust on his body, then he sat on the bed with his legs crossed, preparing to refine the yuan qi pellet into his own qi. The yuan qi pellet was light yellow in color, and there were fine cloud patterns on its surface, making it slightly transparent. Gulp. After swallowing the yuan qi pellet, Yi Chen concentrated his qi and slowly started to operate the pure yuan art. Boom! A loud noise seemed to come from his inner world. The yuan qi pellet turned into pure yuan qi and flowed into all of his meridians, merging with his qi. 2 whole hours passed. Yi Chen opened his eyes, and a sharp light flashed through them. From early mortal realm stage 7 to late mortal realm in one go, I don't think the yuan qi pellet has such a big effect. After 3 months of hard work, it was already quite good for him to reach the mid-stage, since his body condition was not that great after all. It was barely above average, and could not compete with those martial geniuses at all. His only advantage was his powerful soul power, and his extraordinary comprehensive ability. He could train any martial art to perfection. However, it did not have much to do with his cultivation. At most, he would be able to reach the next level faster, and it would not take him too long to do so. Could it be that the fish meat had changed my body quality, or that my body was extremely lacking in yuan qi, so it was more efficient and could convert more qi into qi? Yi Chen would not think about the things that he could not figure out for the time being. He needed to think about how to train the third spell of the pure jade body-boosting spell. Different from normal martial arts, body-boosting martial arts were usually very hard to train, and it had nothing to do with comprehension ability. It required opportunities and methods, or else it would be useless. Of course, it was not that Yi Chen did not have the ability to train it, but the training method of the third spell was a bit weird. It required him to absorb the jade qi from the jade stones and merge it with his body. Chapter 32. After thinking for a while, Yichen opened the box next to his bed and took out a blue jade pendant with dragon patterns. It looked a bit broken. This jade pendant was something Yichen had his eyes on at the pawn shop. At that time, he already felt that it was different from the others, but he did not know what was different about it. But now, Yichen could see through it with just one look. There was a blue chi circulating inside the jade pendant, and it was constantly repairing the broken parts. Natural blue jade! Yichen shouted in surprise. Jade was divided into innate and acquired. The latter was formed slowly after thousands of years, while the former was formed when a wisp of innate vital energy entered the jade and developed a faint spiritual nature. It often had indescribable hidden benefits for the wearer. However, these two kinds of jade were extremely hard to tell apart. If it were not for Yichen's powerful soul power, he would not have been able to recognize it. With this natural blue jade, it can save me a lot of time. Just when I am about to doze off, someone sends me a pillow. Yichen smiled and held the jade in his hand. Calming himself down, Yichen took a deep breath and pushed his pure yuan art to its limit. His pure yuan art flowed into the blue jade through the meridians in his arm. Pop! The yuan qi in the blue jade had already merged with the jade qi, forming a special kind of spiritual qi. It was quite thick and sticky, and it was a bit troublesome to absorb it with his pure yuan art. He could only pull out one stream at a time. One stream was fine, he could take it slow. As the spiritual qi entered his body, it did not merge with his qi. Instead, it spread to every part of his body, as if his body was a jade body. Next was the most important part. The pure jade body boosting spell flowed through his mind. Yichen used his powerful soul power to gather all the scattered spiritual qi and used it to cleanse his body. In the end, he simply merged it with the spiritual qi. Looking closely, one could see that there was a faint jade light on the surface of his skin, but it was so weak that it was almost negligible. 6 days had passed. Yichen had finally reached the entry level. His body had merged with 133 streams of spiritual qi. The blue jade's luster was getting dimmer and dimmer, and it had lost its spiritual qi. Once he started the pure jade body boosting spell, the surface of his body immediately shone with a jade-like luster, making him look indestructible. Picking up a fruit knife from the table, Yichen clenched his teeth and used 60% of his strength to stab at the less fatal spot on his chest. Paw! After all, the fruit knife was no match for a fine steel sword. It broke into two, but there was only a white mark on Yichen's skin. Withdrawing the jade qi, Yichen's skin became soft again, and the luster of the jade disappeared. It was as delicate as a brocade, full of elasticity, but it didn't lose its explosive power. I'm only at minor success in the third art, and it already has such a defense. I really wonder what the fourth and fifth art will be like. Originally, Yichen had planned to cultivate with spirit stones only after he had mastered the third art. However, Yichen felt that it was about time. His meridians and physical body could withstand the impact of the spirit stone's yuan qi, so he didn't have to worry about any side effects. The result was just as he expected. The energy within the spirit stones was still boundless and pure, but it was already under his control and could not cause any more waves. With the huge amount of spirit stones yuan qi turned into qi, Yichen soon broke through the mortal realm stage 7 and reached the early stage 8. Looking at the low-rank spirit stone in his hand, Yichen thought to himself, a low-rank spirit stone is enough for an early condensing reality realm warrior to use for 5 days, and I am only a mortal realm stage 8 warrior, so I should be able to use it for 10 days, maybe even more. That deceased senior left me a huge fortune. The Martial Plaza, the place where the Sky Cloud Martial School disciples' competitions were held. Today was not an important day, and there were no competitions, but there were a lot of people gathered here from all directions. Most of them were outer disciples, and there were a few dozen inner disciples. Huang Bingwen, don't underestimate Zhang Haoren. He is called a genius, so he must have some skills. Brother Cui is right, cross-realm challenges are nothing new in the Windy Nation. Don't fail miserably and embarrass us inner disciples. Three inner disciples were walking side by side, two of them were talking to each other. Huang Bingwen, who was dressed in yellow, proudly said, "Of course I won't underestimate him. I gave him 2 months because I was about to break through to the 5th layer of the Heart Sutra. You should know that the gap between each layer of the Heart Sutra is very big. That way, I would have more confidence." It had been 2 months since the incident at the Pavilion of Martial Arts. Huang Bingwen did not forget about the bet with Zhang Haoran, and he also wanted to try out the power of the 5th level of the Heart Sutra. The 5th level of the Heart Sutra, you hit it so well. Zhang Haoran won't be able to do anything now. Oh right, I heard that you also made a bet with another outer disciple, it is also today. Huang Bingwen said with disdain, him. He is only at the late mortal realm stage 6, I can kill him with one finger. Late mortal realm stage 6? You're overestimating your own capabilities. Hee, this year's outer disciples are all itching for a beating, I can't help but teach them a lesson. Huang Bingwen was the star of today's show. As he arrived, everyone's eyes were on him, making him feel like he had never felt before. Standing on the stage, Huang Bingwen shouted, "Zhang Haoran, come up and die." Below the stage, Zhang Haoran, who was wearing a blue shirt, sneered, "Huang Bingwen, if you want to die, you don't have to rush. You should take care of that stupid outer disciple first." He had already known about his cousin being badly wounded, but he was not in a hurry to take revenge. For him, letting Yichen be stepped on by Huang Bingwen in front of everyone would not be a bad idea. There was no need to dirty his own hands. If he fought with Huang Bingwen first, then Huang Bingwen would definitely lose, and he would not be able to see that scene. Alright, I only need one move to take care of him, he can't run away anyways. Huang Bingwen did not care about such a small thing, he looked around, trying to find Yichen. In the crowd, Wu Zongming said worriedly, "Yichen, although you have reached the late mortal realm stage 9, your opponent has been at the early condensing reality realm for a long time, his martial skills and skills are all more powerful than yours, it will be very hard for you to win. Just try not to lose too badly." In the history of the Sky Cloud Martial School, it was rare for an outer disciple to defeat an inner disciple, and all of those outer disciples were extremely talented. Although Yichen was quite talented, it would be very difficult for him to compete with Huang Bingwen, almost impossible. Yichen smiled lightly, "I know what I'm doing." Pushing through the crowd, Yichen walked towards the battling stage, he shouted, "Stop looking, I'm here." Huang Bingwen's eyes were fixed on Yichen, he laughed evilly, "Looks like you have been here for a long time, why did you only come out now?" Shoo! With a jump, Yichen landed on the huge battling stage. To be honest, it was a mistake for you not to fight with Zhang Haoran first, because you won't have the chance anymore. Huang Bingwen raised his eyebrows, "What a boast, I will let you know what it feels like to be stepped on soon." An outer disciple, he did not even care about him. Chapter 33. This brat is looking for death, do you guys know him? I know him, his name is Yichen. Half a year ago, he was only at Mortal Realm Stage 4. Even I can't see through him now, no wonder he is so confident. No matter how fast he improves, it doesn't matter. Although brother Huang Bingwen is ranked in the top 300, he is still an early condensing reality realm warrior. Us outer disciples are no match for him at all. That's true, Yichen is going to be unlucky. The outer disciples were all talking about it, while the inner disciples were just watching coldly. Brat, go to hell. On the stage, Huang Bingwen didn't even prepare his power, he just took a big step forward and grabbed Yichen's head with his claw. The black claw light made a swishing sound. Demon finishing claw. Yichen recognized his opponent's martial skill, it was a top-ranked mortal realm martial skill. With one attack, it could even break a steel plate. The power of the claw could penetrate through the Jin Qi of a warrior of the same level. Shoo! Yichen lightly touched the ground and flew backwards, dodging the claw light. Huang Bingwen had a strange look in his eyes, he yelled, trying to dodge. Sky Net Attack! Early condensing reality realm warriors could already release their Jin Qi and kill people from a distance. Huang Bingwen waved his hands in the air, and a dark ghost claw made of Jinqi shot out, releasing Jinqi. Indeed troublesome. When fighting against a condensing reality realm warrior, the mortal realm warrior was not only weaker in many aspects, but also couldn't attack from a distance. At most, he could send out a palm wind mixed with chi from 3 to 4 meters away, which was not very powerful. But condensing reality realm warriors were different, they could kill people from 10 meters away. Some of their martial skills even needed a certain distance to be effective. Pushing the golden swallow art to its limit, Yi Chen's body flashed, leaving a shadow on the ground. He dodged the claw light and attacked Huang Bingwen. "You are looking for death, I was waiting for you." Huang Bingwen did not expect Yi Chen to be so fast, but he was not worried at all. With a backhand claw, he tore at Yi Chen. On the way, Yi Chen lowered his body and placed his right hand on the hilt of his sword. His sharp eyes stared at Huang Bingwen. 10 steps. 7 steps. 5 steps. A sword light that was as twisted as water instantly attacked, and like a loach, it pierced through the gaps of the claw shadows. Flowing clouds and flowing water, 7th move, seeking gap. The simpler the move, the more effective it was, because it had no flaws at all. Before the sword arrived, Huang Bingwen's chest already had a reaction. It was cold and numb, and goosebumps appeared all over his body. He was incomparably shocked. Yi Chen's strength had completely exceeded his expectations. However, he was an early condensing reality realm warrior after all. He had been in the martial world for quite a while, and had experienced quite a few battles. After the initial shock, he let out an angry roar, mysterious heavy aura. Buzz! The air vibrated. Looking at it with naked eyes, the space 3 feet around Huang Bingwen's body seemed to have been twisted. The sword light flew past him without leaving any damage. It is the 5th level of the mysterious heavy art. A few of the inner disciples frowned, and looked at Huang Bingwen in a different light. Yi Chen frowned, and quickly backed out. Huang Bingwen said confidently, "In front of my mysterious heavy aura, all your attacks will be useless. But my attacks will be able to affect your balance." "Not necessarily." Yi Chen thought to himself. "This time, I will beat you with one attack." Huang Bingwen's face did not look good. He had planned to beat Yi Chen with one attack, and then teach Zhang Haoran a lesson. But he did not expect Yi Chen to be so hard to deal with. Yi Chen's movement was so fast that it was impossible to track him down. Even after a few attacks, he still could not touch Yi Chen. Yi Chen's sword art looked simple, but it forced him to use all of his power to activate the 5th level of the mysterious heavy art. Swimming dragon step. Extending his body, Huang Bingwen strode forward. With a few steps, he was like a soaring divine dragon as he charged toward Yi Chen. Huang Bingwen has even used the mysterious heavy aura and the swimming dragon step. Is this Yi Chen really that powerful? Many of the inner disciples had never fought with Yi Chen before, so they did not know what was going on. "I can see that this Yi Chen is definitely a sword genius," an inner disciple said slowly with a serious face. "What do you mean?" "I have seen senior sister Zhu Mei fight with other core disciples before. She also used the flying cloud sword art. Although it is not that powerful, it is very hard to defend against." "You think too highly of him. How can he be compared with senior sister?" "Don't ask me, I don't know either. Only some powerful inner disciples or core disciples would be able to see it. No matter what, this Yi Chen is now famous." Facing Huang Bingwen, who was rushing towards him, Yi Chen squinted his eyes. As he moved his feet, he used the 9th movement of the flying cloud sword art, moving night. The night light was like water, and the sword light was everywhere. Huang Bingwen's eyes were dazzled. He never knew that the flying cloud sword art was this powerful. However, it was not enough to make him back off. His left hand formed into a claw, and his right hand formed a fist. He threw out a punch at the same time. Demon slaughtering wind claw, crazy fist. The sword and the claw clashed, and a cracking sound was heard. Yi Chen suddenly left the ground and flew back a little. He then made a fist with his left hand covered in a faint golden light, and clashed with Huang Bingwen's right fist. Boom, oh! Two different forces pressed against each other, and eventually exploded, causing waves of air to ripple. Right at that moment, Yi Chen floated backward in order to get rid of some of the power. Right then, as soon as his feet landed on the ground, his aura changed drastically. It was like a collapsing mountain as he shot out a sword attack towards Huang Bingwen. Not good. Huang Bingwen was caught unprepared. He increased his heavy chi field to its limit, and tilted his head at the same time. Swoosh! The tip of the sword was twisted by the chi field, and brushed past Huang Bingwen's cheek, bringing up a stream of blood. Infinite King Kong! Yi Chen yelled. His left fist shone with a golden light, as if it was made of gold. He took the opportunity and punched towards Huang Bingwen, making an ear-piercing sound. Huang Bingwen's eyes were wide open, and he screamed, "Brat, I want you dead." The first one to fly out was Huang Bingwen. His heavy chi field had been broken, and his chest had been punched by Yi Chen. He felt a sweetness in his throat, and then he spat out a mouthful of blood, along with the sound of his ribs breaking. Yi Chen was also sent flying. Huang Bingwen was still able to use his fist power after being punched, and it landed on Yi Chen's left chest. However, Yi Chen had already started the pure jade body boosting spell. This fist power only made his chi and chi flow not smooth, and made his chi boil, but it had no effect at all. Yi Chen won. He is so powerful. Under the stage, everyone was shocked. They looked at Huang Bingwen, who had been defeated, and Yi Chen, who was still standing, in disbelief. Zhang Haoran sneered. He was indeed surprised. 2 months ago, Yi Chen, who he did not take seriously, had now gained the power to beat an inner disciple. But in his eyes, Huang Bingwen was nothing, because he was also a condensing reality realm warrior now, and his power had increased by more than 1-fold. Yi Chen, do you dare to take 3 punches from me? Zhang Haoran did not seem to have moved, but he had already landed on the stage, completely ignoring the distance between them. Chapter 34. Zhang Haoran did not try to hide his Jin Qi. All of the inner disciples could feel the vibration of his Jin Qi. Some of them were surprised. It's Jin Qi, he has reached the condensing reality realm. Another genius has been born. With his natural talent, I'm afraid he'll be able to surpass us very soon. Although Zhang Haoran was a rare genius, the inner disciples did not take him seriously. After all, most of the geniuses could train very fast, but when it came to breaking through to the next level, they were not even as good as some of the disciples. Only geniuses who had reached a certain level would be taken seriously. Sigh, looks like we have to work even harder. Being surpassed by others is not a good feeling, and there are still a bunch of people above us. That's true, let's not think about the core disciples for now, but there are a few freaks among the inner disciples. They have trained their top-ranked mortal realm arts to the peak of the 7th stage. How can they let others live? The higher the rank of the art, the harder it is to improve. Even if I was given a low-rank Earth realm art, I would not be able to train it. While the inner disciples were still discussing, Wu Zongming walked onto the stage. Zhang Haoran, you are not the only one who has reached the condensing reality realm. Whoosh, a stream of pure qi spread out from Wu Zongming's body. The dust on the stage was blown away. Wu Zongming had also reached the condensing reality realm. A lot of people were interested. Zhang Haoran sneered, you were not my opponent when you were at the mortal realm, you are definitely not my opponent now. Wu Zongming said, let's see what you have got. Yi Chen, you go down first. Actually, he did not have any confidence in fighting against Zhang Haoran. The reason why he stood out was to let Yi Chen recover his qi. Yi Chen smiled lightly. He said to Zhang Haoran, you want to exchange 3 punches with me? I know you've consumed a lot of your inner qi. If we really fight, you'll be at a disadvantage. Now, as long as you can take 3 of my punches without being defeated, you win. What do you think? Zhang Haoran stood with his hands behind his back. His green robe fluttered even though there was no wind. Wu Zongming quickly said, Yi Chen, don't agree. You're good at swordsmanship, But he's good at kung fu. Then he turned to Zhang Haoran and shouted, Zhang Haoran, you can't be so shameless. Zhang Haoran said lightly, did I say that he wouldn't use a sword? I promise you. It's time to resolve the conflict between us. Yi Chen took a deep breath and slowly calmed his boiling blood. All right then. Wu Zongming knew that it was none of his business, so he quickly landed off the stage. On the stage, looking at Zhang Haoran, who seemed to have a card up his sleeve, Yi Chen remembered what had happened in the reception hall a month ago. One of the 4 core disciples of the Emerald Martial Palace, Lu Wuxiang, had fought against the second core disciple of the Emerald Martial Palace, Luo Hanshan, with 3 punches. Now, he also had the chance to fight against someone with 3 punches. Although both of them were far weaker than the previous 2, it was still enough to make people's blood boil and feel proud. Let's start. Yi Chen did not seem to want to take out his sword, he just put his hands together. Zhang Haoran sneered and said disdainfully, if I don't take out my sword, you won't even be able to take 2 of my moves. Do you think I'm as easy to deal with as that useless Huang Bingwen? To be honest, when I fought against Huang Bingwen, I didn't even use my full power. Yi Chen smiled lightly. What? He is only at Mortal Realm Stage 9, and he didn't even use his full power when fighting against Huang Bingwen? Is he just trying to be mysterious, or is he just bluffing? Suddenly, the crowd of disciples started to chatter. In the crowd, Huang Bingwen's face turned pale when he heard what Yi Chen said. He said angrily, this is ridiculous. If I didn't look down on him, this wouldn't have happened. The inner disciple next to him sighed and said, Huang Bingwen, no matter if you admit it or not, a loss is a loss, there is nothing to say. I just can't take it anymore. Huang Bingwen clenched his fists, making a cracking sound. Hearing Yi Chen's words, Zhang Haoran laughed out loud, all right, take my first attack, Ice Snow Universe. When he was still at stage 10 of Qi, Zhang Haoran's soaking cold palm was already extremely powerful. Now that he had reached the condensing reality realm, he was able to summon a blizzard as soon as he attacked. The entire stage was covered in layers of frost, and the frost was quickly spreading towards Yi Chen's direction. Along the way, the blizzard intertwined and moved towards Yi Chen. Chin! Yi Chen clenched his right fist, which made a metal clashing sound, and threw out a punch without any hesitation. The blizzard covered both of their figures, making it hard for the naked eye to see them clearly. Even some of the inner disciples were shocked by the power of the battle, not to mention Huang Bingwen, who had just lost to Yi Chen. How is this possible? This is only a high-rank mortal realm martial skill, why is it so powerful in Zhang Haoran's hands? Huang Bingwen looked like he had just been shocked. Of course, Zhang Haoran did not hear Huang Bingwen's words, and even if he did, he would not care. The difference between a genius and a mediocre person was something that he would never understand. In the blizzard, Yi Chen's eyes could not see, nor could his ears hear, but with his super-sensitive senses, he could clearly see Zhang Haoran's movements and expressions, without missing a single detail. Go to hell! Zhang Haoran threw out a palm attack towards Yi Chen's chest. Not necessarily. Oh. Yi Chen waited patiently, and threw out a punch. Boom! The blizzard exploded, Yi Chen's fist and Zhang Haoran's palm collided, both of them did not want to give way, and stood there motionlessly. Facing this situation, Zhang Haoran grinned, he turned his left palm into a fist, and threw out a lightning-fast punch towards Yi Chen's chest. But to his surprise, he did not know when he had also been hit, and it was also on his chest. The crowd only heard 2 clashing sounds, and the 2 people on the stage were both blown back, their bodies staggering. Huh. My Iron Cloak art has already reached the highest level, you can never hurt me. Zhang Haoran patted his chest, looking like he did not care. The clothes on Yi Chen's chest had already been shattered, he looked down, and saw that his strong muscles had a jade-like luster, and was covered with a layer of frost. With a shake of his qi, the frost was quickly shattered, and fell off like crystal dust. Raising his head, Yi Chen said, "You did not hurt me either." This time, Zhang Haoran's face looked terrible. "I did not expect you to have trained a body-strengthening art as well, I have underestimated you." But with this punch, you will definitely lose. Tiger Roar, Dragon Fist. Compared to a few months ago, Zhang Haoran's mastery of the Tiger Roar, Dragon Fist, had become much more proficient. Boundless blue qi gathered around his palms, letting out waves of tiger roars. Soon after, a gorgeous light tail was drawn out as it charged towards Yi Chen, like a flying dragon soaring into the sky. Taking a step forward, Yi Chen pulled his right fist back, and roared in his heart, "My current strength is more than 10,000 pounds, I can even kill an elephant. Today, I will let you be the first person to experience it." Swoosh! Taking a step forward, Yi Chen's fist was more powerful than any weapon, instantly tearing the air apart, and a thin layer of qi was squeezed out in front of his fist, continuously tightening. The two fists collided, and Zhang Haoran flew out in fear, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 35. Standing in the middle of the battling platform, Yi Chen's body was like an unsheathed sharp sword. This guy is really scary. If beating Huang Bingwen proved how powerful he is, then beating the genius Zhang Haoran only proves that he is a freak. That's right, it's not scary for a genius to challenge someone with a higher cultivation than him. What's scary is that the one who is defeated is also a genius, just like when someone challenged the head disciple. That's impossible. Among the younger generation of the Windy Nation, no one can challenge the head disciple. I'm just giving an example. Kneeling on the ground with one knee, Zhang Haoran held his broken right arm with his left hand and raised his head. His lips were covered in blood and slid down to his chin. He said viciously, "No one can beat me, Zhang Haoran, not even you. Yi Chen, wait for me, you have to become an inner disciple in 5 months, then I will challenge you again." Everyone shook their heads. Yi Chen could already beat you when he was only at the mortal realm stage 9. When he becomes an inner disciple, would you still have a chance? Yi Chen admired Zhang Haoran a little. Although he was arrogant and thought that no one could compete with him, his fighting spirit was amazing. He never knew when to retreat. Huang Bingwen, on the other hand, was much worse. Once he lost, he would hide in the crowd. Maybe he was planning something bad behind the scenes. With this kind of personality, it would be hard for him to achieve anything great. Alright, I will give you a chance to challenge me, and in 5 months, I will definitely become an inner disciple. Facing someone with fighting spirit, Yi Chen did not say anything sarcastic. Standing up unsteadily, Zhang Haoran looked deeply at Yi Chen. "You are very powerful. I, Zhang Haoran, did not feel bad losing to you. But if you want me to submit to you, that is impossible." After saying that, he walked off the stage with determination. Wow, such a proud character, not bad. The battling platform was surrounded by stands for the audience. They went up step by step until they reached a height of 6 meters. On the edge of the stage, a young man in green was waving a fan in his hand, looking relaxed. On the side, the young man with the iron sword in his arms said lightly, "Reaching the condensing reality realm at the age of 13, he should be in the top 5 of the Sky Cloud Martial School in the past 10 years. The green-clothed youth nodded. "When he grows up, he will be our opponent. As for the other one, I'm very curious as to why he has such great strength. Even the core disciple Su Jing can't compare to him. He is nothing to worry about." After reaching the condensing reality realm, physical strength will no longer be able to determine the outcome of a battle. But his defense is a bit tricky, and I have never seen it before. Everyone has their own secrets. Didn't you also obtain a sword art in the Ghost Weeping Forest? The green-clothed youth smiled and said, "Let's go. We're too relaxed." The sword-wielding youth nodded and left the martial arts square with the green-robed youth. If someone saw these two, they would definitely recognize them. The sword-wielding youth was one of the top 10 inner disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School. His name was Li Kuang. His sword art could even make ghosts worry, and he was known as the Ghost Sword in the northern part of the Windy Nation. The green-clothed youth was called Pei Shaoqing, and he was ranked even higher than Li Kuang. Although he was young, he had a friendly attitude. The two had just returned from a school mission. They saw a lot of people on the martial arts square, so they came to have a look. They didn't come to watch the battle. On the way back, Wu Zongming looked at Yi Chen strangely. "Yi Chen, you've improved so much. You've left me far behind." Yi Chen couldn't explain what had happened to him, so he said, "Improved a lot. I don't feel anything. Think about it, when you were in the Murin gang, you were only at Mortal Realm Stage 6. Now you are at Mortal Realm Stage 9, and not just any ordinary Mortal Realm Stage 9. When you reach the condensing reality realm, who knows what kind of monster you will become. Maybe I've been enlightened all of a sudden." Hearing this, Wu Zongming nodded unexpectedly. "You're right. Some people are mediocre in the beginning, but suddenly rise in the middle. You might be one of them." Yi Chen was speechless. As the days passed, Yi Chen was not as high profile as everyone thought he would be. Instead, he stayed in his house all day. Even when he went out, he would go to his training spot, the cliff. During this time, Zhang Haoran and Wu Zongming had officially become inner disciples. Every inner disciple had a special tag on their waist. On the back of the tag was their name. With it, they could freely enter and exit the martial skill pavilion, read the top-rank Mortal Realm manuals, accept missions from the school, travel around the martial world, and build their own business and reputation. Of course, there was a certain amount of danger in the Jianghu. In the past 10 years of the Sky Cloud Martial School, countless inner disciples had died. Some were ambushed by the Jianghu, some were killed by the martial artists of the underworld, some were killed by the disciples of other martial schools, and some had completely disappeared. No one knew if they were alive or dead. Even so, the leaders of the Sky Cloud Martial School did not take any measures to reduce the number of inner disciples who died. To them, no matter how beautiful the flowers in the greenhouse were, they would not be able to withstand the wind and rain. Only by letting them travel the martial world would they be able to grow up and build a solid foundation for the future. However, Zhang Haoran and Wu Zongming did not need to do any missions for now. Within half a year of becoming an inner disciple, the leaders allowed them to focus on training their martial arts. After half a year, they would be able to use the martial world as a grindstone to train their willpower and martial arts talent. While everyone was working hard, Yi Chen worked even harder. Every day, besides training the third spell of the pure jade body boosting spell, he would train with the soul stones. After Yi Chen had absorbed all the qi from the blue jade, he did not need to absorb the jade qi anymore. What he needed to do was to master the martial art, which made every inch of his body have a connection with each other. Once this connection was established, his defense would be flawless, and he would not have any weaknesses. Without a doubt, the meat of the strange fish had helped Yi Chen a lot. Otherwise, he would not be able to train the third spell of the pure jade body boosting spell to this level in such a short time. Even early condensing reality realm warriors would not be able to hurt him. Seeing that he was about to finish the meat of the strange fish, Yi Chen's strength had stopped at 12,000 pounds. Towards the end, every increase of 10 pounds of strength would be 10 times more difficult than before. It was almost the limit of his body. If he wanted to continue to increase his strength, he would have to make a breakthrough. At night, a bright moon was hanging high in the sky. The bright moonlight shone through the window, making the room look hazy. Outside the window, the shadows of the trees stuck to the ground, which added a sense of serenity to the room. Yi Chen sat on the bed with his legs crossed, holding a soul stone in each of his hands. Originally, Yi Chen did not dare to train with 2 soul stones. Although it would double the speed of increasing his qi, the huge amount of yuan qi from the soul stones would break his meridians and turn him into a useless person. However, since his body condition had been greatly improved, and the third spell of the pure jade body boosting spell was almost completed, using 1 soul stone to train was already a piece of cake. Using 2 soul stones at the same time was just right. As the huge amount of yuan qi from the soul stones turned into qi, the qi whirlpool in Yi Chen's dantian kept expanding, and finally filled up his dantian. Fortunately, the pure jade body boosting spell could strengthen his dantian, and the meat of the strange fish had also strengthened his dantian. Otherwise, it would be very easy for him to have problems. Whoosh! The chi whirlpool suddenly shrunk by 30% and became the same size as before. Yichen opened his eyes and slowly let out a breath. Finally, the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10. The condensing reality realm is even harder than I thought. In order to reach the condensing reality realm, one had to liquefy the chi into Jin Chi, which was a very difficult process. The further one advanced, the harder it would be to compress the chi, and there might even be a rebound effect. Compared to other people, Yi Chen's breakthrough was already much easier. The pure Yuan art was famous for its purity, and it was easy to control. However, when it was time to break through to the condensing reality realm, Yi Chen would not be able to continue refining the Yuan Qi from the soul stones. No matter how pure the Yuan Qi was, it would still take some time to merge with the Qi inside the body, which would have a huge side effect on reaching the condensing reality realm. Standing up and walking to the window, Yi Chen looked out at the night sky, and said to himself, "The Yi family meeting will start in half a month, it's time to go home." Chapter 36. The distance from the Sky Cloud Martial School to the Maple Leaf City where the Yi family lived was about 12,000 miles. Even with 1,000 miles horse, it would take 12 days to get there. If there were any delays in the middle, half a month would be just enough. However, this world was different from the world where Yi Chen came from. 1,000 miles horse was nothing. The fastest horse in the Windy Nation was the ghost-eyed Jade Lion, which had the bloodline of a demonic beast. It could run 3,300 miles a day. It was produced in the Devil Grassland in the east of the Windy Nation. It was extremely hard to catch and tame. Even the most common one could be sold for 100,000 gold. Although warriors could make a lot of money, only a few could afford a ghost-eyed Jade Lion. The reason was that warriors spent money like water. For example, Yi Chen could earn 10,000 or 20,000 in 4 to 5 days. However, after he bought the pellets, he would not have much left. Especially the higher the level of the pellets, the more expensive it would be. It could even be more expensive than a ghost-eyed Jade Lion. After asking for 1.5 months leave from the outer master, Yi Chen hurriedly started his journey back. He was riding a cyan mane horse, which could run 1,200 miles a day, which was worth 5,000 silver. As for the dark brown horse, which could run 2,000 miles a day, it was not that he could not afford it, but he could not control it at that time. Hiya! At the foot of the mountain, Yi Chen squeezed the horse's belly with both of his legs and sped away. After the Windy Town was the closest city to the Sky Cloud Martial School, the Windy City. Walking out from the south gate of the Windy City, Yi Chen's vision suddenly widened. The sky was blue, the clouds were pure white, the wind was wild, and the land was flat. Everything was presented in front of Yi Chen's eyes. Riding on the horse at lightning speed, Yi Chen had an urge to roar into the sky. He had never thought that one day, he would be able to be like the martial artists in the martial arts novels, traveling in the martial world alone with a sword, although he was not really traveling in the martial world yet. Tat 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 tat. Nearby, a few martial artists rode over. "Little brother, let's go to the Silent Hills to hunt some demonic beasts, how about you join us?" Yi Chen had no intention of slowing down his horse. He turned his head and said, "I'm sorry, I still have something to do." What could be more important than making money? You should know that with our strength, killing a third-level demonic beast is nothing difficult for us. The leading guest of the Jianghu wore a bamboo hat and had a scar on his face. He was still trying to persuade them patiently. Yi Chen sneered, "Sorry, I will take my leave now." Go! With a shake of the reins, the cyan mane horse's speed reached its limit. Humph, this brat is too cunning. I won't be able to scheme against him. Scar-faced man's expression was cold. "Boss, why didn't you stop him just now? He's riding a cyan bristled horse, so he must be very rich. If we did this, it would be enough for us to enjoy ourselves for half a month." Yeah! Judging from his appearance, he should be a young master of some family. The scar-faced man reprimanded, "What do you know? This brat's eyes are sharp, and he has a murderous aura about him. He's definitely not a good person. Be careful not to fail miserably." After saying that, his tone changed. It's almost the end of the year. All the disciples of the small sects within 1,000 miles have returned home. There will be plenty of opportunities. Don't take your life as a joke. That's right. Boss, you have great foresight. Alright, let's go. The group turned their horses around and headed back to the Windy City. Far away from them, Yi Chen sneered. These people must have thought of him as one of those arrogant martial artists who had never traveled the martial world. Once he agreed to go to the Silent Hills with them, he would definitely show his true colors as a robber and kill them for their treasures. Unfortunately, even though Yi Chen had never traveled the martial world, he had a lot of experience. It was all thanks to the dozens of wuxia novels he had read during his high school and university. Tens of thousands of miles away, a young man was also riding a cyan mane horse, running as fast as lightning. The young man was wearing a white robe, carrying a great blade on his back. He had a handsome face, and looked a bit similar to Yi Chen. The Purple Sun Martial School is right in front of me. I said I would meet up with my big brother. I wonder if he is waiting for me there. The young man looked into the distance. A majestic mountain was standing there. It was faintly glowing with a light purple color. It looked majestic, and purple chi was coming from the east. After a while, the young man arrived at the foot of the mountain. Yi Tang, you are here. There were a lot of Purple Sun Martial School disciples at the foot of the mountain. They were all wearing purple robes with a fire sun embroidered on the back. One of them, a young man with big eyes and bushy eyebrows, said. The handsome young man rode his horse and walked over. Big brother, your Purple Sun Martial School is not bad. It is not like the North Snow Martial Academy, where it snows all year round. The bushy-eyebrowed young man was the eldest son of Yi Chen's eldest uncle. His name was Yi Feng, and the handsome young man was his younger brother, Yi Tang. One of them had entered the rank 8 Purple Sun Martial School, and the other had entered the rank 7 North Snow Martial Academy. Both of them were much more talented than Yi Chen. Yi Feng said, I would like to go to the North Snow Martial Academy, but I am not talented enough. Don't be too greedy. Yi Tang smiled and looked at Yi Feng carefully. Big brother, you have reached the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 9. Not bad. Reaching the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 9 from early Mortal Realm Stage 4 in 3 years was already considered above average. The martial school would also pay attention to such a person. How can I be compared to you? You should be at Mortal Realm Stage 10 now. Yi Feng could not see through Yi Tang, or rather, he had never seen through him. Yi Tang said with a bit of pride, I barely reached the condensing reality realm, my Zhen Qi is not stable yet. You have reached the condensing reality realm? Yi Feng was shocked. Although the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10 was only one step away from the condensing reality realm, it was extremely difficult to cross the threshold. Many disciples with above-average talent had to spend more than half a year to cross the threshold and officially become an inner disciple. There was no need to show off in front of his brother, so Yi Tang changed the topic. Let's not talk about this. Speaking of the family meeting, I wonder how that trash Yi Chen is doing. Don't tell me he has not reached Mortal Realm Stage 7 yet. It is so embarrassing to be in the same family as him. Yi Feng put away his jealousy and chuckled, the more you train, the harder it is to improve. I think he might not even reach late Mortal Realm Stage 6. Let's go back and teach him a lesson, let him know how useless he is. Now that I think about it, I miss those days. There were people waiting on me every day, and I could bully Yi Chen when I was unhappy. But he was quite stubborn, he never told his parents. What's the use of telling them? Our father is an inner master of the Purple Sun Martial School, he is not afraid of Yi Chen's father, although he is the leader of the Yi family. Oh, right, is father coming home this year? Yi Feng nodded, father said he would be a few days late, so we should go back first. I see. Then let's go back first. I think that trash Yi Chen should be leaving the Sky Cloud Martial School soon. And Yi Xian, I wonder what level she has reached? If there was one disciple in the Yi family that Yi Tang valued, it would be Yi Xian. When he was at Mid-Mortal Realm Stage 5, she was at late mortal realm stage 5, which made him depressed for a while. But now that 3 years had passed, he should be ahead of her. Yi Feng no longer expected to surpass Yi Tang, not to mention that Yi Xian was his own brother. In the future, when Yi Tang became successful, he would be proud as well. In the true spirit continent, there are very few women who can become powerful warriors. Maybe her cultivation is just at the same level as mine. Yi Tang thought it was reasonable. Let's go. All right. The two rode their horses and left. Chapter 37. Qingyuan River, the biggest river in Luo City, it was 2,700 miles long, the widest part was 12 miles, and the narrowest part was only 2 to 3 miles. Wooden boats were crossing the river, scattered all over the place. Yi Chen stood at the front of the boat with his horse, looking into the distance. There was a magnificent city, square in shape, with a tall tower in the center, which could be seen clearly from miles away. "Young warrior, are you going home to visit your family?" The boatman who was paddling saw Yi Chen wearing a blue robe with a great sword on his waist. No matter how the boat moved, he could not move at all, so he couldn't help but ask. Yi Chen nodded. "I haven't been home for 3 years." During the last 2 family meetings, Yi Chen did not go back, because even if he did, it would still be embarrassing. But this time was different. Even if the family did not send an announcement, he would still go back and take back his dignity. Going back is a must, nothing is better than home. The boatman seemed to think of his wife at home, a warm smile appeared on his face, and he did not feel tired anymore. Yi Chen was actually a bit conflicted. Going home meant seeing his parents. Although he had merged with Yi Chen's soul from this world and accepted all of his feelings, he was still the one controlling the body. In other words, Yi Chen's consciousness had disappeared, and he was still himself in the 21st century. When the boat reached the shore, Yi Chen threw a whole piece of silver to the boatman. "Young warrior, there is no need for this much." The boatman was dazed for a second, then he said honestly. Yi Chen waved his hand, jumped on his horse, and rushed towards Luo City. Looking at Yi Chen's back, the boatman was both envious and happy. He envied the warrior's generosity, never having to worry about money, and he was happy that 10 silvers would be able to buy a couple of beautiful clothes for his wife, and there would still be more than half left. He thought she would be very happy. Luo City. After showing the Yi family's disciple badge to the guards, Yi Chen rode his horse and flew into the city. The Yi family was located in the south of Luo City, covering 1,000 acres of land. In front of the gate, there was a pair of stone lions that were as tall as 2 people. The red gate was decorated with shiny copper nails and rings, and the guards at the gate were all dressed in bright clothes. They were obviously mortal realm warriors. Young Master Chen has returned." Hearing the sound of the horse's hooves, the servants looked over. When they saw the young man dressed in blue, their eyes lit up and they called out loudly. "Young Master Chen, I'll take the reins." A servant hurriedly ran over to take the reins. After getting off the horse, Yi Chen asked, "Are my parents home?" The servant said, "Master and mistress are both here, I've already sent someone to inform them." "All right, I'll go pay my respects to them right away." After passing through the entrance, Yi Chen was led by a servant to the entrance of the main hall. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen stepped inside. The main hall was spacious, and inside stood a man and a woman. The man was about 40 years old, his face was pale and beardless, and his body was tall. Just by standing there, he emitted an indescribable sense of majesty, making people unable to look at him directly. The woman looked like she was in her 30s, she was extremely beautiful, graceful, and had a pair of bright eyes just like Yi Chen's, and her body was just like a young girl's. These two were Yi Chen's father, Yi Tianhao, and his mother, Shen Yuqing. "Father, mother." At this moment, Yi Chen naturally bowed down, as if there was an invisible force controlling him. Shen Yuqing's face was filled with excitement, she walked over and helped him up. "It's good that you're back, it's good that you're back." Yi Tianhao smiled and nodded, he was about to say something, but suddenly he was surprised. "Chenair, you've reached the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10. Is it true?" Shen Yuqing was so excited to see her son that she didn't notice anything. Looking at Yi Chen's qi again, it was so pure and powerful that it was only one step away from condensing Jin qi. If it wasn't the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10, then what else could it be? Chenair, what's going on? Normally, Shen Yuqing should be very happy, very happy. As an outer elder of the Rudra martial school, an early clasping Yuan realm martial artist, and her husband was the leader of the Yi family, she would never want her children to be weaker than others and be called trash by others. But now that her son had suddenly become a genius, she didn't know what to do. Although Yi Tianhao didn't say anything, his eyes had revealed what he was thinking. Yi Chen had already thought of what to say. He cleared his throat and said, "I don't know what happened, I suddenly realized that training is very easy, just like eating and drinking. The more complicated a lie was, the easier it was to be exposed." Yi Chen knew this. Suddenly realized? Yi Tianhao didn't understand. Shen Yuqing thought for a while, then said to her husband, "It's not like this hasn't happened before. There was a disciple in our Rudra martial school. He was just an ordinary disciple when he first joined the school, but after 1 or 2 years, he unexpectedly became smarter, he made a breakthrough in his cultivation and is now a core disciple. So, our Chenair is also a genius." Yi Tianhao didn't care about the Rudra martial school disciple, he only cared about his son. Shen Yuqing said, "To be exact, he is an acquired genius. No matter if he is an acquired genius or an innate genius, he is still a genius. Ha, my Chenair is a genius, I am so happy." Yi Tianhao laughed out loud, he was in high spirits. Seeing his parents so happy, Yi Chen said seriously, "Don't worry, from now on, Yi Chen will not be weaker than anyone else." Of course, in just 3 years, he went from early Mortal Realm Stage 2 to peak Mortal Realm Stage 10. Who dares to say that my son is weaker than anyone else? Shen Yuqing gently pushed Yi Tianhao, "I know you are happy, but Chenair came back in a hurry, let him rest first, we will talk after dinner." "You are right, Chenair, your yard is ready, go take a bath to get rid of your fatigue. Then I will leave now." Leaving the hall, Yi Chen followed his memory and went back to his yard. "Hello, young master." A girl in green was already waiting for him in the yard. Yi Chen smiled, "Cui Er, long time no see, you have grown up." Cui Er blushed, "Young master, you have grown up too." "Hee, you are right, is the bath water ready?" Cui Er saw that Yi Chen was still so approachable, she let out a sigh of relief and said, "It is ready, young master, this way please." In the bathroom, white steam filled the air. After letting Cui Er go out, Yi Chen took off his clothes and jumped into the tub naked. So comfortable. Moaning, Yi Chen lied down and closed his eyes. The situation was smoother than he had imagined. The most important thing was that he did not feel unfamiliar with Yi Tianhao and Shen Yuqing, as if they were his parents. Thinking of this, Yi Chen was deeply moved. In the 21st century, he did not know who his parents were. He was picked up from an orphanage, then went to primary school, middle school, university, just like everyone else. There was nothing special about him. He did not expect that after coming to this world, he would also have his own parents. This kind of blood is thicker than water, it made him feel nostalgic. Chapter 38. The dinner was very rich, but of course, it was not about eating. "Chen, why didn't you go to the South Rudra Martial School? If you were there, your mother would have been able to take care of you." Shen Yuqing was an outer master of the South Rudra Martial School. Although he did not have as much power as an inner master, he could go back home often. Plus, the South Rudra Martial School was not far from Luo City, only 2 or 3 days away. Yi Chen said, "I just wanted to live alone. Isn't it nice now?" Shen Yuqing sighed, "You are right. If you went to the South Rudra Martial School, you might not be able to achieve what you have now. I almost ruined you." Yi Tianhao took a sip of wine and laughed, "Do you have any hope of reaching the condensing reality realm? The Sky Cloud Martial School's inner disciple ranking competition will start in a few months. Probably at the end of this month." So confident. Shen Yuqing put down his chopsticks. Yi Chen explained, I have already condensed a little bit of Jin Qi in my body. Plus, I am training the pure Yuan art. I have already reached the peak of the 5th stage. Gasp! Yi Tianhao and Shen Yuqing gasped. Many of the martial institutions in the Windy Nation had repeated Mortal Realm martial arts. The South Rudra Martial School also had the pure Yuan art. However, only a few people could reach the 5th stage of the pure Yuan art when they were still in the mortal realm, not to mention the peak of the 5th stage. With a bitter smile, Shen Yuqing said, back in the day, when I was still an outer disciple of the South Rudra Martial School, I was also training the pure Yuan art, but I could only reach the peak of the 4th stage. I did not expect that my son would be even more successful than me. Yi Tianhao nodded. He finally understood how talented Yi Chen was. At least in terms of martial arts training, he was as talented as most of the other geniuses. Oh right, I have some bad news for you. Yi Tang and Yi Xian have already reached the condensing reality realm. Shen Yuqing said seriously. She didn't want to say it at first because she didn't want to hurt Yi Chen's enthusiasm. However, it was better to say it out loud so that he wouldn't have to bear a bigger contrast. Yi Chen nodded, I know about Yi Xian breaking through to the condensing reality realm, but there is one more thing you don't know. Ji Xuan had already gone to the Sky Cloud Martial School and asked to cancel the engagement with me. Cancel the engagement? The chopsticks in Yi Tianhao's hand were broken into two. His expression was very ugly. He snorted coldly and said, Yu Qing, I already said that this marriage is not reliable. Now the consequences are here. The marriage has been broken off in front of everyone. How do you expect Chen Er to live? Shen Yuqing was stunned for a long time. When he recovered, he said, Ji Xuan's mother and I are like sisters. I'll go and talk to her later. What are you talking about? Is there no one who likes our Chen Er? Yi Chen looked calm. You don't have to worry. This incident didn't affect me. If you want to cancel the engagement, so be it. I don't plan to get married too early anyways. Shen Yuqing was a mother after all. Her son was wronged. She felt bad too. She said sarcastically, in a few years, she will know that she made the wrong choice. She is wrong now. My son is already a genius. He can have all kinds of women in the future. Yi Tianhao was even more extreme than Shen Yuqing. Not wanting to continue this topic, Shen Yuqing said, Ji Xuan, let's put this thing aside for now. Right now, the most important thing is the family meeting at the end of the year. There will be a total of 18 people from the Yi family. The top 3 will get the full support of the family, and the champion will get a low-rank storage ring. A low-rank storage ring? Yi Chen's heart skipped a beat. The mid-rank storage ring he had was too eye-catching. Not only the condensing reality realm warriors would want it, even the clasping Yuan realm warriors would want it. It was not safe at all. If he had a low-rank storage ring, he could avoid a lot of trouble. In the family meeting at the end of the year, I will be the champion. In other people's eyes, Yi Chen was very arrogant when he said this, but he did not think so. Good, very aggressive. I like it. Whether you get the champion or not, your mother and I will buy you a low-rank storage ring. Shen Yuqing nodded and said, as long as you work hard, you can have anything you want. After all, I have been an outer master of the Rudra Martial School for so many years, I still have some savings. Yi Chen smiled. He was lucky to have parents like this. However, he still preferred to fight with his own hands. Of course, he could not say too much right now. He knew that his parents did not have much hope for him to get the champion. After all, the condensing reality realm and the condensing reality realm were two completely different things. After dinner, Yi Chen went back to his yard. The moonlight outside was like water. The whole Yi family was silent. Inside the house, Yi Chen sat on the bed with his legs crossed. His breathing was steady and powerful. Contrary to the quietness outside, Yi Chen's body was filled with turbulence. His qi was circulating at a speed 3 times faster than usual. And with each cycle, the qi whirlpool in Yi Chen's dantian would have an extra trace of liquid qi, gathering in the center. After an hour, Yi Chen opened his eyes and mumbled to himself tiredly, "No wonder so many people are stuck at the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10 for more than half a year. Converting qi into qi is too hard. No matter how talented you are, you can't do it in one day. But at this speed, I should be able to reach the condensing reality realm in 10 days. Seriously speaking, very few people could predict when they would make a breakthrough, but Yi Chen was different. His soul power was twice that of normal people, and the highest level of the pure Yuan art. His qi was also extremely pure, which allowed him to accurately predict the timing of his breakthrough with very little error, which he had already tested before. Slowly letting out a breath, Yi Chen got off the bed and went to the yard to practice his sword arts. The next day, the Yi family was bustling with noise and excitement. It was not because the family meeting had started, but because the two geniuses of the Yi family had returned. Yi Tang and Yi Xian, not just the Yi family, even the whole Luo city knew about them. One of them had reached the early mortal realm stage 5 at the age of 12, and the other had reached the mid-mortal realm stage 5. One had joined the rank 7 martial school, the North Snow Martial Academy, and the other had joined the rank 7 martial school, the Emerald Martial Palace. It was hard to tell who was better. Besides them, Yi Feng was also quite famous, but compared to these two, he was not as famous. Besides these three, there were many other disciples in the Yi family. Some of them had joined martial institutions a few years ago, some were training outside, and some were traveling the world with their masters. Now, they were all returning to the Yi family, preparing for the family meeting that was going to be held in a few days. For the servants of the Yi family, guessing who would get the first place was their biggest pleasure, and this year was no exception. It was said that they had secretly started a bet. The ones with the highest winning rate were obviously Yi Tang and Yi Xian. Unexpectedly, Yi Feng did not get the third place, but the fifth place. The third place was taken by Yi Hai, who was traveling the world with his master. The fourth place was taken by Yi Ming, who was training outside, and Yi Chen was the 18th place. Yi Chen did not know any of this, but even if he knew, he would not care. After all, the first place was not something that could be won easily, it was all about strength. Chapter 39. On the west side of the Yi family's training ground. A few people were walking and chatting. The leader of the group was a teenager about 16 or 17 years old. He was wearing a black robe, carrying a blade on his back. He had a determined look on his face, and his body was emitting a faint murderous vibe. "Brother Yi Hai, I think only you and Yi Tang and Yi Xian can compete for the first place in this year's family meeting." The teenager who was talking seemed to admire the teenager in black a lot. Yi Hai said lightly, "I was apprenticed to my master when I was 13. For the past 3 years, I have followed him around the world. I have been to the Devil Grassland in the Windy Nation, the Rudra Nation, the Black Dragon Empire with billions of people. I have fought sharks on the Changbai River, lived in the Mud Dolls Desert for a month, and did not sleep for 3 days and 3 nights without eating anything. Therefore, for me, the first place in the family meeting is nothing. As for Yi Ming, although he has also trained hard outside, he is only at Mortal Realm Stage 10, so he is not a threat." What's so great about training? You will never know the importance of a martial institution if you have never been in one. Not far away, another 3 or 4 people walked over. Yi Tang, who was wearing a white robe, looked at Yi Hai provocatively. Yi Hai glanced at Yi Tang. "Indeed, the training system of the martial institutions is perfect, but in front of me, who has killed dozens of people, how much of your power can you use?" "Killing. I thought you were going to say something." Yi Tang laughed, pointed at Yi Hai and said, "Our North Snow Martial Academy is trained in the art of killing. Although I am not talented, I have killed dozens of people. Your so-called killing is bullying people who are weaker than you, right? Have you ever challenged someone who is stronger than you? Have you ever felt like you were on the verge of death? Do you have any experience of turning defeat into victory? You have nothing, you just kill people to show off." Yi Hai's 3 questions made Yi Tang speechless. He retorted, "It is useless to say anything now. We will see who is better at the family meeting. Let's go." After Yi Tang and his people left, the teenager next to Yi Hai said, "Brother Yi Hai, I support you. That Yi Tang is nothing special." Yi Hai shook his head. "No, seriously speaking, he is not weaker than me, maybe even stronger. The North Snow Martial Academy's art of killing is the best in the Windy Nation, no one can compete with it. But winning or losing is not just a competition of power. By the way, are there any new powerful figures in the Yi family recently?" Yi Hai asked. "The top 5 would be you, Yi Xian, Yi Tang, Yi Ming, and Yi Feng. The others wouldn't catch your eye. What about that Yi Chen?" "Yi Chen is still a piece of trash, at most Mortal Realm Stage 6. Strange, it's been 5 years and I'm still at Mortal Realm Stage 6. On average, I've improved a little more than 1 stage every year. Are you guys mistaken? How is that possible? Apart from being the patriarch's son, that guy has nothing good about him. He's really a disgrace to our Yi clan. Since there aren't any powerful disciples, I have a 60% chance of winning first place." Yi Hai was very confident in himself. He firmly believed that these 3 years of life and death tempering would be an unshakable driving force for his future development. 3 days passed in a flash. The clan meeting at the end of the year began. Early morning. After washing up, Yi Chen tidied up his clothes and walked towards the Yi family's training ground with his great steel sword. The drill ground was packed with people, and it was bustling with noise and excitement. Almost all the servants and warriors living in the Yi family had come to watch the family meeting martial arts competition. In addition, some of the big shots in Luo City had also come, taking the opportunity to observe the strength of the new generation of the Yi family. Looking around, Yi Chen found a relatively quiet contestant seat and walked over. On the VIP seats, Yi Tianhao and Shen Yuqing were sitting next to each other. On the right side of Yi Tianhao was a middle-aged man in a luxurious robe. His body was a little fat, his every movement carried an invisible pressure. It was obvious that he was a big shot, and not just any big shot. "Patriarch Yi, may I ask which one is your son?" the middle-aged man said with a smile. Yi Tianhao had already noticed where Yi Chen was. He pointed over and said, "Mayor Lin, that is my son." "Sorry for the embarrassment." The middle-aged man was none other than the mayor of the Luo city. He was in charge of the city's military, and was an early clasping Yuan realm warrior himself. However, no matter who he was, he would still be a level lower in front of Yi Tianhao. As one of the top 8 families, the Yi family was not something that a mayor could compare with. To put it bluntly, the Yi family was in charge of the Luo city. Whenever the mayor made an important decision, he would have to consider the Yi family's opinion. Mayor Lin looked at Yi Chen, he looked at him carefully, and said confusedly, "Looks like the rumors can't be trusted. This kid is obviously at the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10, just 1 step away from the condensing reality realm." Shen Yuqing, who was standing right next to Yi Tianhao, showed a proud smile. "To be honest, even us parents are surprised. It seems like the training outside is working for him after all. Hee, this year's Yi family gathering will not be easy. I will wait and see." With his powerful soul power, Yi Chen sensed that someone was staring at him, and there was more than one of them. One was his parents and Mayor Lin, the second was his third uncle and his son, Yi Ming, and the third was Yi Hai, who had been traveling with his master. Yi Ming's cultivation was lower than his, only at the late Mortal Realm Stage 10. Yi Hai was much more powerful, already at the early condensing reality realm. Perhaps he did not have any powerful martial skills or martial arts, but after traveling outside for so many years, he could not be underestimated. Plus, this time, his master must have taught him 1 or 2 of his trump cards, which would help him win the first place. Interesting. I knew it. How could he reach Mortal Realm Stage 6 in 5 years? He has already reached the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10. Yi Hai nodded slightly, but he did not seem to care. In his eyes, only Yi Tang and Yi Xian were his opponents. All of a sudden, a powerful aura swept across the entire field, which made everyone quiet down and looked towards the east. Ha 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 ha, how could I, Yi Batian, be absent from the family gathering at the end of the year? The crowd automatically parted, and a burly middle-aged man walked over with a majestic gait. He wore a purple brocade robe, and there was a fiery sun embroidered on the sleeves of his robe. There were also exquisite patterns on the edges of the robe. A pair of tiger-like eyes glared at someone, and the people in that area even stopped breathing for fear of attracting his attention. This man was Yi Chen's eldest uncle, the inner master of the Purple Sun Martial School, Yi Batian. Next to him were Yi Tang and Yi Feng. The two walked with Yi Batian, looking quite proud and arrogant. Their eyes were almost looking down on the crowd. Although Yi Batian was not as powerful as Yi Tianhao in the Yi family, his status was not lower than Yi Tianhao's. Sometimes, Yi Batian would even go against Yi Tianhao and embarrass him. Yi Tianhao could not do anything about it. Yi Batian was an inner master of the Purple Sun Martial School, one of the most influential people in the Purple Sun Martial School. Yi Batian's cultivation was extremely high, reaching the late clasping Yuan realm. He could be called the most powerful warrior in the Yi family. Although the Yi family was one of the top 8 families, it was still far behind the rank 8 Purple Sun Martial School. Perhaps only the Duanmu family, which was the leader of the top 8 families, could compete with the Yi family. Brother Batian, I did not expect that this year's family meeting would even disturb you. Yeah, Brother Batian, you haven't been back for years, right? This year's family meeting is over, let's go have a few drinks to welcome you back. All the powerful people around started to flatter Yi Batian, even more so than Yi Tianhao, as if they were slaves. Yi Batian waved his hand, alright, I will give you face. After saying that, he walked to the VIP seats in big steps, and signaled Shen Yuqing to leave with his eyes. His eyes were full of undeniable power and dominance. Yi Tianhao had a bad look on his face. Shen Yuqing knew that the situation was not in his favor, so he stood up and said, Brother, please sit. Alright, then I will do as you say. He sat down and put his palm on the table, making a muffled sound. In the distance, Yi Chen's eyes were burning with anger.